Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental. Just a reminder that this podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. I know they are hard to find, and I get that. I have a bunch of resources on my website if you need them, but I am not your clinician. I am a psychologist, but I am not your psychologist. So if you need any specific help, please look for the help of a licensed mental health professional. Learn all you can learn from the podcast. Enjoy the episode. All right, everybody, welcome to Mind Your Mental podcast. Today, we are joined by Dr. Marcus Mason, who is a licensed clinical professional counselor with over 12 years of experience specializing in youth and adult therapy. He holds degrees in child and adolescent studies and counseling psychology and currently teaches in the graduate program. You're at Bowie?
Correct. I'm Bowie State.
Yes, I never knew how to pronounce that right. Okay, so because I'm just saying, like, it's spelled Bowie. Okay, like, can we agree? Like, it's
Bowie.
It's spelled Bowie.
But you don't say boots.
Okay.
You say boots.
Okay, but if I'm not wearing a long tie and I'm wearing a shorter, the ties that go around your neck, what's that called? What's that look like? What's that called?
Dang, I'm losing it.
Is it a bow tie?
It's a bow tie, duh.
Oh no, I don't think so.
It might be bow tie. It might be bow tie.
Okay, so you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm just, every single time I'm like, Bowie, I don't think that's right. You can't be pronouncing that right. Like, I know you guys are alumni, but like.
I get that.
You also hold a doctoral degree in educational leadership and management from Drexel University. That's what's up. I'm from Philly. And he founded Minds in Motion Therapeutic Services, promoting mental health, physical health integration under the motto, Move Better, Feel Better, Think Better, dedicated to serving Black men and underserved demographic and mental health. And for all those out there, when you go to the page, just like I mentioned, Rashawn like also has like mental health thirst traps. So does Minds in Motion Therapeutic Services, y'all. So go for the info. I'm just saying. I said the same thing to Rashawn, and I would be remiss if I didn't say the same thing to you. I'm sorry. Like, I couldn't just do that to him. You too. Good job. That's good marketing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, having, like, this is how it goes, y'all. Like, you zoom it in and it's all these Black guys in suits. Come on. They don't care about the therapy. Hey, everyone. Just a reminder that Mind Your Mental is not just a podcast. It is also a amazing community, if I do say so myself. It's phenomenal. You get more access to me. What more could you want in this life? So if you want to join the community, if you're not already on the community, go to my social media. My social media is the same, Raquel Martin, PhD, and DM me the word community so you can get details on joining this amazing flipping community. You get more access to me, y'all. Like, I'm a delight. All right. Hope to see you there. But you should care about the therapy. When I saw that, I was like, yo, that is a good marketing. Okay. I see what y'all did there.
I'm just learning from somebody as great as you. That's it. I'm just learning from
you. You did it better than me, because I'm just like, watch how many people are going to be like, I need help. You and I are like, what kind of help we talking here? Like, what are we doing?
Right. Which level of help are we discussing at this point?
What are we discussing? But yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I love the fact that your entire practice is Black men and it's dedicated to Black men, because you're right. It is an incredibly underserved demographic when it comes to mental health. And all health, honestly, in my opinion.
I think that I know one thing I tell people all the time is they discuss or they have, oh, well, it's just so many Black men. And I'm like, yeah, but like, have you seen it happen before? Like, think of another practice similar to that, right? Like, we have coalitions typically, but just pushing this idea that it's okay for us to take up space. And even if it's not okay, we can still take up the space. So let's do that. Like, that's been a big push for me when I started the organization.
When you went to school and stuff, did you know that you wanted to focus on Black men in particular, or were you more like, I know I want to do therapy, but I don't know exactly who I want to focus on?
I was not as clear as I was when I graduated. When I started, I just wanted to go to school because I heard if you want to be in the mental health field, you got to go back to school, went back, then recognized, of course, that's where you're going to get the most money. You can be able to do private practice, self-pay insurance, all that kind of thing. But when I graduated, I realized that I went back to school, or as I was in a program, rather, I went back to school because I wanted to be able to support people that were like me when I was younger and I was looking for support. And I was like in that mid-20s, just early and mid-20s where you're just making certain decisions. You just need somebody to be like, yo, like, I don't know, like, let's really sit back and think about it before you do it, right? I recognize that like a lot of my mentees and a lot of like students that were under me and just like high school students and middle school students, they didn't have somebody that looked like them to be able to offer them the clinical feedback as they were going through certain situations. Like that were culturally based or just similar to like demographic and socioeconomic status and all those types of things. So when I graduated, I realized, I said, oh, I'm Black men through and through. So that's what I need to work with, and Black boys. And of course, our women and our ladies.
That's what's up. Did you always know that you were going to have a practice full of Black men, though? Like when you started, did you not know?
No, I didn't. Really? That was not, the goal was to have a cool little side practice and do your thing and stay out the way.
Yeah.
And I think that once the marketing kind of took off when COVID hit, everybody needed a level of support. I think when COVID hit, so mental health increased, which is a good thing in theory, but it was like overwhelming. Like people were like, oh, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. And I was just like, I can't do this by myself. No way. So then that's when I started realizing and like having conversations with other individuals that were saying like, are you willing? Are you going to push to get licensed? Because that's the whole thing. I think sometimes in this field, whether it's social work, counseling, psychology, whatever it is, there are people that kind of get stagnated at that licensure stage because of just like the test and the money and the requirements and the hours. So like pushed all my people. I was like, yo, like, let's do it. And then they followed through, came through, and they're doing amazing work. I think better than me. I tell people all the time, I think sometimes they're better than me. I'm just the facilitator, but they're the ones that are really getting it done.
How many men are in your practice?
Right now we have 9, and that includes 2 interns. So again, even with like my interns, I'm trying I am pulling them up because I would have loved the supervisor that, not I'm going to say like me, but a supervisor that had that level of safe space culturally. My supervision was not as, I had an older white guy, and he told me flat out like, hey, your population is too specific. You're not going to make no money. And I was like, say less, just watch. So now my goal is to be able to pull people up in that master's program when they're in a practicum internship, come holler at me, come stay here, see what that feels like, give you some culturally competent supervision. And then you can either stay or you can go. I would love for all of my people to go and start their own practices and then do the same thing. Like I want to be able to reach and span out.
That's what's up. I never had a black supervisor either. I very much had to like use the tools afforded to me and learn on the job. And it would have been amazing if I had one when I was in training. So this means, just for clarification, Black men do go to therapy, huh?
For
like
sure.
they actually do attend?
For sure. They do. And it's crazy because I tell people all the time, people always ask me like, well, what's your like average like client? I'm like, well, one, there's no average client, but if you had to ask me, I tell them like I have the CEO, C-suite people, and I have the people that you would cross the street because you are a little uncomfortable for whatever feelings you got going on. And I have the people in between. Everybody goes to therapy. Black men go to therapy, all ages, all ranges, all different intersectionalities. It's not this like taboo thing that Black men don't go to therapy. They just want to save space when they do go. So we have to create that.
Other than like stigma, because I know stigma is always a thing when it comes to therapy. What are some things that also probably get in the way of more Black men going to therapy? Because I get the stigma aspect of it, but I think that there are even more people out there talking about it and things like that. I think there's things other than stigma getting in the way. What else would you think gets in the way of not having more Black men in your office or other people's offices when it comes to mental health?
I think a big thing, I was talking to my friend about this a couple of weeks ago, was this idea that people have their kind of pre-assumed understanding on what's going to happen when they get to therapy. And even especially with like couples work, a lot of times I have couples that'll come in and that either from their own lived experiences in the past or what they have assumed from like TV, they just automatically assume that like you're always going to be on the other person's side, no matter who it is. You're just not going to be on my side as the man in the relationship, and specifically as a Black man. I'm always the one doing something wrong. So that like mindset comes into the session. And it's like, well, I don't really want to be here for real because I already know you're going to pick his side, or this is like, there ain't no point in me doing this. And if I do come, I'm going to sit, I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to be respectful, and I'm going to walk out the door. Right. So I think a big thing is this idea that when you do come to therapy, that you won't be heard, or you won't be seen. You won't be respected. You'll be told that you're the one that's incorrect all the time. But again, dispelling that looks like giving it a try and having conversations. Like I have people now, a couple of couples that I'm working with, and I tell them flat out, I'm not on neither of y'all side. I'm on the relationship side. So whether you're wrong or you wrong, or you right or you right, we just gonna have a conversation. We gonna explore it. And again, it's not about what's right and what's wrong. It's about what makes sense for you both individually, but then as a collective whole. And that has been typically pretty receptive from my male clients that have been in couples work, but just my individual clients, they always say like, I've never had somebody I could just talk to in like layman's terms. Like I'm not trying to have all the big jargon. I'm not trying to just sit down and I give my whole feelings out. And then all of a sudden you tell me, have a good day. Like Black men don't typically respond well to that. That's not really our, like our thing, right? Like sometimes we want to just vent and get it out. But a lot of times, because I think of how we were raised just in general, we typically are looking for something like actionable. Like, what am I supposed to do with what I just said? Like, how can we work through this? Like, do I get homework? Should I be thinking about this before our next session? Like all those types of things. So being able to provide them with like different actionable techniques and interventions while they're in the session, after the session, and then checking in usually helps to kind of have people want to come back. Not nobody, but a lot of men that I work with don't want to just vent. They want to vent, but then they want to find a solution and then process whatever they're feeling as they're finding the solution. So we can do all the above, but we got to create that space for it.
Okay, so you want things that are like more tangible.
Correct.
And as someone who's working in couple space, because I think a lot of people misunderstand it just like the way you mentioned. It's just like, it's not like it's me and it's not you guys against each other. It's both of you against the problem, right?
Right.
So like you get to see the perspective of couples that are seeing a problem separately. Do you notice any big differences between, like, it'll be one scenario and trends among the way men may see the scenario versus trends among the way women may see the same scenario, and you're objective. So you're able to see like, okay, this is actually pretty typical. You're seeing the problem is this, they're saying the problem is this. Do you ever notice any trends between like men and women in the way they may tear apart situations or see them or anything like that?
I would say a couple of things is one, communication. Like I tell people all the time, communication is always going to be like, you can have great communication and then when stuff goes south, everybody's no holds bar, right? But this idea that when things do occur and when things are coming up or there's a problem that arises, men, I don't want to generalize, but I'll say many men typically look for a solution to solve the problem. And the other significant other, the other significant other typically wants to maybe feel it a little bit more and sit with that a little bit more. And then you get this weird dynamic where I'm trying to solve the problem for you so you don't feel this, but you're telling me I'm not listening to what your emotions are. And I'm like, well, if I can solve the problem, now it takes away your emotions moving forward. But you don't want that just yet. You want to be able to feel the emotions, process the emotions, go through it with your partner. Yeah. And then you want a solution, right? And I've seen that happen a couple of times. Well, not a couple, a lot of times when it comes to like big disagreements or big arguments that just, they're not on the same page, not because they're not trying to work together, but because step one for one person is not the same as step one for the other person. Yeah. And we got to start at step one if we're going to get to step 5. But in their mind, he's at step 6 or he's at step 4. And in his mind, she's at step 2. So they have to figure out how to like work through those things together. And a big thing that I recommend now is I tell all my guys that are in relationships, no matter who you're in a relationship with, when your person's talking and they getting it out, like ask them, are you looking for feedback? Or are you looking to like, you want actual like support? Do you want takeaway items or do you just want me to listen and support you in that way? And that kind of gives you clarity on how you can then respond. But when we don't do that, we have this, I solved the problem. Why is she still upset? Or
because she ain't asking you to solve a problem.
Exactly.
Listen to me. Like, I didn't ask you for this.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you for this. Yeah. Like, what? Like, first of all, we seem to be confused because I just need you to sit here and tell me I'm amazing. I don't need, I didn't ask you for no solution. Like, and the communication thing is a very good point because I feel like some people need to talk about things in that direct moment and some people need to talk maybe in like an hour or two. And those two people are always married. Those two people are always together. The person who needs a minute and the person who needs like, I want to talk about it immediately, always together. Like these are the people who are going to be together for the rest of their life. Because God forbid you marry someone or be with someone who communicates in the same way you do. That would just be too easy, y'all. No, you choose the strong silent type and you talk a mile a minute. That's who you decide to be with.
Right.
You're like, I need to express this. And I also say there's not always going to be a solution, right? Because sometimes I just want to, I'm going to just be talking stuff. And it's like, well, if that person irritates you so much, why do you keep going out with them? Because what are you asking me?
Because I want to.
Like, what? So you telling me I'm the problem? Like, what you mean? Like, what? It's just like, at no point, I just need you to sit here, tell me like it's clearly their issue and go from there. But I feel like it's also difficult because that's not really how I don't think the world is receptive to, one, acknowledge emotions when it comes to Black men in the first place, but even like working through them in a slower pace. Like you have to have solutions, right? Like it's great if you're in a scenario where people like affirm your emotions and acknowledge the fact that you're allowed to have them and be a human being as a Black guy. But like most of the time it's just like, okay, suck it up. Like we don't have time for this. Like you need to be quicker at it. So I sometimes think that's also an issue with like jumping to solutions, because that's the only thing that you're able to do. Yeah.
Yep. I even like, even personally, right? There's times where something will come up and it's like, I know that it's an emotional response that I'm having, and I'll be like, oh, put that away. We got to solve it. Then we can feel this later, but we got to get through it. But like you're saying, like that has been ingrained in us by racism, slavery, all the things, performative behavior. Like that's just like work through it. But then we're taking away this idea that we're not human. We are human. We have these emotions, we have these feelings, we're able to be and show up as our true whole selves, but we also have to take responsibility to do that as men, to be able to grow that skill. Even though it wasn't maybe taught to us, it's still our responsibility as adults and as young men to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's really hard. I feel like we're getting to a space where it's getting more normalized, but it's a tall thing. It's a tall order, right? Because at the end of the day, like these kind of like biases and stereotypes and stuff like that, like they didn't happen overnight. So trying to break them down isn't going to happen overnight. Anytime I talk about like specific mental health when it comes to Black men, or if I'm talking about Black women, or if I'm talking about like non-binary Black people, there's always some aspect of like, there's going to be some form of a gender war in my freaking comments. And I'll just be like, yo, hey, get the freak out of here. I don't like this. You know, like, it's just like, so what about the Black woman's experience? Like, when the freak do I not talk about the Black woman's experience? What about the Black man's experience? I talk about the Black man's experience often. And I'm just like, yo, like, what if I told y'all that like, this is super unproductive? And I personally feel like what's best for the Black community is what's best for like him or her or they. But it always comes up with this whole aspect of like, us against each other, and God forbid you try to actually state that Black love exists. Like I feel like the media just makes it seem like I feel like if you didn't, you get to actually see it when it comes to couples and possibly in personal life. But if it wasn't for that, you would really, most people would believe that like Black love doesn't exist. Black women and Black men can't stand each other. Like I feel like that's a lot of the ways that media portrays things.
What in your perspective, where do you feel like that comes from? Is that I feel like it's been put on purpose in order to keep us separate, so that way we can't get to the place where we should and could be as kings and queens?
Oh yeah, I feel like white supremacists have always played the long game. So I've always felt like with having this aspect of like division, it makes it so that we're not able to be as unified. And that's always going to be better for, like, it's always going to be best for the oppressors, the people who are oppressed, not to be a united front. Like, that's absurd. Like, even from enslavement, they made sure that people who were related weren't together, who spoke the same language weren't together. Like, it's very much, oppressors have always played the long game. And it also sells, right? Like, the clicks will be higher on media. I can do an amazing post about some just like perfect therapeutic technique, but the minute I go off on somebody, viral. I'm like, y'all just like me to be messy. I do too, but like, come on, guys, like, let's be adults. So I also, I'm at this place where like, I don't even know if men or women actually believe half the stuff that they're saying, as much as they just know that this will get them to where they need to go. And I think that we have to decide like, what's the most important thing? Because is it important for you to, I don't know, make ducats and get those clicks and stuff like that to the point where you don't care about the fact that it contributes to the detriment of like the community? Like, what they have to care, like you have to care that it's a thing. And I'm not sure if everyone does. I genuinely don't believe everyone believes the stuff that they say. I don't. I just think they're like, it's giving me clicks, which gives me money, and these are my bills. I don't think some stuff is so stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way. Yeah. That you believe this. Like, and that sucks, because it's just like, but you also can't force people to, I don't know, you can't force them to always see the community as a whole. Some people are just like, we're individuals, but Black people as a whole, we were taken from a collectivist place. So like, that's not really, I don't really think that's not of us, but no, I don't really think that. You think they believe it? Like, you think with the whole like, what is it? The incels. What is it? I'm hearing about incels, and I'm hearing about like Black women don't appreciate Black men, and then Black men can't stand Black women, and like, like none of us.
I don't know if it's, well, I think you called it out. It's polarized, and I think that when that energy or that type of exchange is happening, I do think that the algorithms are real. We all realize that now, right? And if that's what sells, that's what gets the stuff, and that's what people gets it. But in reality, like, media shows what media wants to show. And that could go back to like that level of oppression. Like, yes, we're going to continue to promote this idea of the disconnect, as opposed to the post where we're talking about what Black love is and what Black love shows up as and looks like. That'll give a couple likes, but we're gonna focus on the drama, and the drama is this disconnect, right? And I think that also in the space there are times where I think social media is a bigger tool than maybe some people realize, and it goes so much further than we also can even realize. And when we say things, even if it's out of anger, out of frustration, and out of whatever we have going on in the moment, that comment goes. And when that comment goes, depending on who you are, you've now created a whole tenet of information and other comments that come from it. Like you're saying, like this whole thing, like y'all arguing back and forth. Why can't we, like, legit, why can't we get along? Like, what's the deepest issue here? Like, why are we still doing this, right? So I think that's another reason and another way, honestly, how that oppression continues to occur, because when you push it and you sell it, it's going to continue to get pushed and continue to sell. And we're in this space where we're trying to figure out, I think as a society, is the money worth the drama, or do you want to stand firm in what you believe in and just stay out the way because nobody else does?
Yeah, it's crazy because it's not even always I think it's money. It's like, I think it's social capital. People don't see it as much of a tool as it is. The only reason why I got on social media is because I feel like I was able to see early on, like, oh, this is like there are people that'll never read my manuscripts, but I can do a 90-second video about like a technique that can help a parent with their child, and that thing will go viral. And I don't think people see it as like, it's one of the biggest tools out there when it comes to mental health, and one of the biggest stressors is feeling isolated in your experience. Having mental health professionals that look like us being like, oh no, that was some racist stuff. Like being able to go online and see that, because nobody around you is going to be able to do that because you're not around a bunch of Black people. Like, that's a game changer in my opinion. Like, I don't think people use it as much as they should for mental health and well-being. Honestly, a lot of people think I don't know, academia is elitist and stuff like that. So maybe they don't see the utility of it, but my students legit told me that they were going to listen to me more because of social media. I've been teaching them for years. Like,
and then you go get social media, and now y'all want to listen to follow up.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but that's what they, like, that's what they see. And I feel like it's cool to be able to see people look like you and not be stuffy, and they break stuff down. Like, that's the kind of clinicians I want to see. Like, that's the kind of representation I want to see, because one, they don't think Black people go to therapy. They definitely don't think Black people are treating other Black people. And then they don't think that we understand their experience. Like, I think social media could be a way better tool than people use it, other than like talking about Cheesecake Factory and like, man. And I really feel like Cheesecake Factory, their sales went up, because I was like, I haven't had Cheesecake Factory in a minute. Like, let me see if it
hits or if it don't hit anymore.
Yo, let me get this Louisiana chicken pasta, extra sauce, y'all. Like, let me, I was just like, I don't think people, so like, if you had a patient who was coming in, it was like a Black man, and you feel as though like there's no specific reason to come to therapy, but when I've worked with Black men in therapy, there have been a couple of themes. Like, one, feeling isolated. I think a big theme is also like, I've seen that like Black men don't realize that like the person they're in a relationship with, like, they're the problem. Like, I think sometimes they're gonna be like so used to feelings getting disregarded, or not even feeling comfortable acknowledging their feelings, that I'll be hearing stories and I'll be like, I'm sorry, they said what? Okay, so from what you shared with me, that sounds like a dismissive comment. Did you not receive it that way? And it's just like, oh yeah, but we still gonna go out tonight. I'm like, this sounds insane. Like, I just be sitting here like, what? Like, so I think a lot of times there's not also like a barometer of, oh, yo, like, you're not supposed to get treated like trash either. Because if the tables were turned, I'll be like, leave him, sis. Like, what? He has lost his mind. Like, what the heck? Like, I feel like I noticed that a lot. Now, I'm not gonna say I don't notice also like, oh, it sounds like this sounds delusional. Like, you need to learn how to. But I also hear like, I'll just be like, man, it sounds like you're getting treated like trash, in my opinion. I don't know from what you've shared, right? Like, because we can only go off of what their perception. I'm like, that sounded like a dismissive statement, or that sounded like your feelings were being shut down, or that sounds like you were actually trying to connect and it was seen as like being soft. Like, I can only go off of what you're saying, but these don't sound like contributors to a healthy relationship is typically what I would say.
No, I think that's spot on. But I'm not sure where that comes from, because that is also a theme that I typically run into And it's almost, I'd say, not sad, but eye-opening in a way. It's like, yo, like they come in and they're like, I'm talking, what about this? And we did this and we did this. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, how'd you respond? Like, what was da-da-da? And they're like, I'm gonna just eat it. I'm like, bro, you don't gotta just eat it. Go home and still speak up for yourself. Still advocate, right? But I think also, like you're saying, like that, the dismissiveness of the partner in tandem with the way that sometimes the structure is going in conjunction with the way society treats black men. I'm not supposed to say much. I accept what I can accept. Yeah. I'm gonna just have to take whatever I can get. At the end of the day, nobody's going to believe me. Everybody's going to say I'm the problem. So I might as well just suck it up and eat it. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying that you aren't able to do these things. But what I am going to add in is like, is that like what makes you happy? Like, can you see yourself happy with this person in 3 years? That's usually where I go when I work with these kind of black men and they're talking about these things. Like, if you say nothing and you just eat it, can you do this for 3 years straight? And 99% of the time, the answer is like, hell no. And I'm like, okay, cool. So why not start to slowly have those conversations now? If you want to keep this person in your life, let's set some expectations. Let's set some boundaries. Let's make sure that the same way, because if you talk to her like that, it would be an issue. And you probably
I would be like, I mean, this man done lost his black mind, and you need to you need to help him find it, honey, because it's like, there's no way.
Right. So just like those slow steps, and again, like that actionable idea, right? Like go home and just sit down and like set the stage. Like I want to just have a very transparent conversation about how I'm feeling, what's going on. I want to be able to work through this with you. This isn't about you against me or me against you. I want to get through this together and let's see where we can come out on the other side. Like having those kind of setting the conversations up for success, I think always help. But again, we're not taught that as black men. We're not taught to really advocate in that way from an emotional standpoint. We're here to protect. We're here to provide. And that's what society has told us that we can do. But now we are leaning in this space where we want to be utilized as the whole person, just as somebody else does in our significant others. So you got to speak up though, bro. You got to say something. If you don't say something, don't come back in here 6 months later and be like, bro, I'm just so sad. I bet. Like I would be too if you were sitting in the same thing. Like, come on, we got to speak up.
So what would you say to individuals who, like, when they're having an argument, their go-to is to, like, just like you mentioned, like, I'm not going to say anything. But their go-to is also to just like walk away. Like, because I saw a post about individuals talking about like, oh, men will just walk away and come back and everything's resolved. But I'm just like, on the other side of things, like women can see that as like, oh, you don't care. Because like, why would you leave? And it's just like, I need to leave because you talking to me like you ain't got no sense. So there's also that. But like, what would be like, say you have a couple and they're coming in and that's the issue. It's like she's saying every time we have an argument, he leaves and he's like, every time we have a conversation, it turns into an argument. Because I wasn't trying to have no darn argument. I was trying to have a conversation, a discussion. And now you telling me, you don't even need me. I can afford this rent on my own. Like, what would be
You're just jumping
Dr. Mason?
All the way there.
As somebody who also listen, I understand it because y'all, these have been previous scenarios that I'm just playing a replay from my past relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one time my husband said something about me. Something about me like washing the dishes, like I was stacking them wrong or something like that, and I was like, well, I ain't gotta ever wash dishes again. You understand me? And he's just like, he just looked like whoa, man, like what? But I do better at like when it comes out, I'd be like, I'm sorry, that was excessive. Like I say I'm excessive to me. Sometimes I just need a minute. That's why I say like take a breath and slow down because I'm just a very like East Coast person. So my first response is, what? And that's not appropriate most of the time. So like, I'll be like, y'all think I'm like a reasonable person, but I gotta slow down because my first response is not reason. My first response is legit run up, get done. What?
Right.
And then afterwards I'm like, yo, this is my husband, yo. Like, girl,
I can't do that.
You, man? Like, yo, like, what? But you gotta slow down because I'm always just like, y'all, my first response is not reasonable. I just know to slide that heifer to the back and be like, y'all, we're not in North Philly. You're in a home. This is the father of your children. Maybe
let's explore this a different way.
But you got to know to do it, right? Like you got to know yourself. I know that, like, I know I'm a smart ass. Like this is just what it is, yo. Like even afterwards, I'll be like, oh, that was so unnecessary. Oh my God. And I'm just like, the more I slow down, the more I don't have to apologize because I ain't say nothing crazy. Like, so slow down because don't nobody want to apologize every 5 seconds. Maybe just stop being a butt. Like I saw this thing about like apologies and it's just like all the things that go into good apologies. And I'm just like, it'll also be great. You ain't have so much stuff to apologize for. So there's that.
It's a bar. I think that, you know, even when I think about like that, right? And you're talking about this example, I've adopted this even from like Gottman when it comes to what they've taught me like stonewalling and all those types of things. I've gotten to a space now where I've interpreted that in a way where I allow the couples to create their own rules of engagement when they know it's going to get feisty, when they know it's going to get spicy, when they know it's an issue. When stuff is cool, stuff is usually cool. So it's not an issue, right? But when stuff is not cool, how are we responding to navigate that situation? And when I tell you, Doc, you would be surprised. Like, it'd be like some stuff I'm like, dang, I should be like, maybe I should take that. Like, that's a rule I may need. And sometimes I'm like, yo, y'all rule is, all right, don't curse at each other. I'm like, that's one rule. That's the only rule we need. Then they come back in and like, oh, well, they brought up something that happened 7 years ago. I'm like, well, y'all weren't clear. Right. So I think creating these ideas or these tenets of whatever your rules of engagement are, that could look like, if you're the spicy type or you're the quick out the mouth type, I tell people like, yo, just pause for like 10 seconds. Like just pause for 10 seconds before you respond. Whatever you say after that, it is what it is, right? But just pause for 10 seconds. And there are some people like, for me, I'm a person, and some of my clients are in this space where when I have something that's going on or I feel a way, I want to talk about it. I don't want to like talk for 5 minutes and then be like, conversation done. I want to keep going. I want to keep talking, but I also have to recognize I might be talking in circles. And now the other person's like, bro, I heard you. Like, you keep going. I don't want to hear this no more, right? So figuring out what that dynamic looks like, what that time frame looks like. Do we both step away for 10 minutes because we both are hotheads and we know how we get, and then we agree to come back? Do we have not a safety word, but a word of like where it's getting too heated and somebody can be able to be aware of the situation and step back and be like, all right, we need to take a break and then we'll come back? I have a couple that they use something Pikachu. And I was like, Pikachu? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, why? Okay, what made y'all choose Pikachu? And they're like, because it just makes both of us laugh. And they never used it for the first week. And then something came up, and I think the wife, she yelled out Pikachu because the husband was beginning to raise his voice, and they bust out laughing. And then they were able to like, all right, cool, let's release reset. Let's have this conversation. So like figuring out what works for you when it comes to these rules of engagement and communication can get you to solve or to resolve or to just at least have a conversation on the topic at hand, as opposed to how we're responding in the moment. Because we all know if something's going on, but the response, similar to what you said, like, I'm not washing none of these dishes no more forever. Now we're worried about that issue, right? We're worried about that response as opposed to the actual thing that's going on that we can maybe navigate a little bit better. So I always say, create some rules of engagement. Talk about time frame. How long do you want to step away from each other to take a break to come back? Have a word that kind of tells both of you all that we need to just calm down. Are we hitting below the belt? Are we agreeing not to hit below the belt, right? Like, there are certain things. Don't bring nobody's mama into it. Like, I'm telling you, it just be like little things.
Oh, yeah, because like, I mean, like, so get a lawyer, honey. Like, it's like, it's certain things. It's just like, get a lawyer. I'm not about to do this. You know, like, this is in your best. This is in your best interest. And I like that when it comes to the buzzword, I typically tell people to choose a funny buzzword because, like, it just helps to break the tension, yo. Like, I think one of my families, their thing was falafel. And I'm like, that's what's up. Like, whatever. But it helps to, like, break the tension. And all your points were good. And I want to add, like, during an argument is not typically the best time to like, you can't have these conversations during it. What you're trying to do is prepare for it. So these conversations should be had. I think they should be typical conversations. When I was dating my husband, we were having conversations about kids before I even had any interest in, like, I'm talking about in a decade, talking about communication. Before, like, it's hard to talk about, like, well, I need you to be nicer to me when we've been screaming at each other for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, these conversations, they should just be typical conversations, because the issue in relationships are not like, what is it called? Conflict. It's like, it's poor conflict resolution. You got to know like, I know how I am. So I also know when I'm being unreasonable, but you also got to be comfortable admitting that. And I think a lot of times people, my biggest thing has always been like, we still got to go to sleep in the same house, yo. Like, so do you really feel like this is someone you're going to have to avoid them because you were such a jerk? And I also remind myself, like, would I let anybody else talk to my partner like this? As someone who's like a really fiercely protective person. If some other woman came talk to my husband like this, I'd knock her out. Like, so, like, why do I get to talk to him like that? Like, I'm not gonna if anybody else talked to you this way, I would have a problem. So like, it's gonna be a no.
It's interesting though. I've used that kind of like reframe back to especially some of my male clients when it comes to like, oh, I'm like, all right, how'd you respond? They're like, well, I said da 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 da. And I was like, okay, you don't think was that a little harsh in your opinion? And he's like, nah, I'm shooting it from the hip, bro. And I'm like, okay, let me give you an example. Let's say your lady was sitting right here and I said everything you just said. And they're like, we'd have to fight. And I was like, exactly. So why is it okay for you to work to do that? Right. So I love that whole like reframing, giving it back, because a lot of times that's when I typically get people to be like, all right, well, if I won't let the random man on the street do it, why is it okay for me to do that to my lady? And even vice versa. If I don't if I would go fight this woman for coming at my man like that, why is it okay for me to come at them like that? And I think that usually opens a mindset, or at least an idea of like, I need to have some self-awareness on how I'm responding, as opposed to just deal with it. And I think that goes back to that performative behavior, dismissive. Like everybody has to take accountability. It's not, in my opinion, it's not just men. It's not just women. It's not just non-binary. It's everybody. As two individuals in a relationship, everybody has to take accountability for what they're bringing to the table. And there's going to be some great stuff, and there's going to be some stuff that may not be the best, but we got to be able to work through that together, as opposed to just being the other person all the time.
Yeah. And I think it's cool to acknowledge the fact that it takes as well. And some people just got to be comfortable with being wrong. Like I was wrong. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not even just about like apologies. And because I feel like we've been getting really trash apologies lately from people, like on both ends. But I feel like the best apology is change behavior. So I want you to apologize. And like, can we talk about how you're not going to do this again? Right. Because it just makes no sense. Like, there's only so many times. You're not going to keep apologizing to me for the same thing. And that goes both ways. You're choosing to do it at this point, especially if you're with someone and you know what's going to make them upset. Like and you're just poking that. Like, I always say, like, well, okay, so do you not want to be with this person? Because it seemed like you talking to them like you don't want to be with them. Because I can't imagine telling someone, like calling them that name and just being like, so where'd you want to go for dinner? Where do I want to go for dinner?
Right.
I'm packing your stuff. Are you not watching me? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you better listen, call your dad. He's got to pick you up, because like, you got to get out my house. This isn't happening. So I think people forget and lose sight of that. The biggest thing most people are missing is perspective. But like, you can acknowledge, it's okay to acknowledge that, like, yo, that hurt my feelings. It like, since you hurt my feelings, I think I'm gonna need a minute. Like, whether it's intentional or not, because intent and impact are different. Like, people need to know how they react when their feelings get hurt. Like, okay, my feelings get hurt, I start crying, or I might get sad. Other people, my feelings get hurt and I get mean. Like, nah, you hurt my feelings, so I'm gonna verbally punch you in the face. Right. I might regret it. Yo, like, I might regret it.
I'm gonna do it, but then I'll regret it.
I'm gonna do it because I need you to feel how I feel. And that hurt. And when you're building relationships with people, you're working on building this amazing support system and someone who you go to and bringing them close to you. But you also are acknowledging that you're building the opportunity for someone to hurt you. Like, that's the most difficult part. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, I want you to be there for me. And I think it's amazing. You're also granting people the opportunity to hurt you. Which, like, it's like, you got to teach people how to treat you most of the time. And I think people don't acknowledge that you have to teach them how to treat you.
Where do you think?
Froze.
Can you hear me?
Did you freeze? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Where do you think this idea of the teaching part came from? Because that's something I also work on when it comes to just individual and couples work, is people expecting that because they love this person, because this person loves them, that they will just know how to treat them. And I'm like, yo, like, you gotta, it's just, we have to, as weird as it sounds, we gotta train people to treat us a certain way we want to be treated. People will do whatever they think is best if we don't. But this idea, this theme of like, oh, well, I love them, they love me, so they should know what to do. That's a lot of assumptions. I don't think that's fair for you or for them.
It's so many assumptions. I'll never forget when I was in, I randomly sing in sessions all the time, but like the guy I was talking to, he was like, it wasn't a couple session, but he was like, she should have known that. Like, she knows. And I was like, and I know she knows. He's like, what? I was like, you sound like you sound like J. Cole, yo. You sound like a song because it don't make no sense. He was just like, Dr. Martin. I said, I'm sorry. It's very hard. All I heard was the song. Like, she knows. She knows. And I'm like, right. I know she knows. That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's when it comes to needs and wants, like, so many times they're not meant to be like how the equator is an imaginary line. It's not supposed to be imaginary. Why would you assume just because I love you and you love me, that doesn't mean that I know what to do. That means you need to let me know. And it's also like, one of the things that gets to me is like when people don't, I'm pretty direct. So like most people know like, oh, if there's an issue, just tell her, she'll fix it. I don't like hurt nobody's feelings. But if something happens and like, you didn't tell me, I'll never forget when I was dating my husband, I know for a fact he had an issue with like me like leaving my wallet, like, but like intent, like I would just be like, I'm not paying for this, right? Mind you, we both are undergrad, or I had just graduated, right? And I could tell it made him mad, but I also don't like when people don't bring things to my attention. So one time,
you ain't changed it, did you?
No. And I knew it made him mad. And that's the thing. Like, so you should, like, listen, everybody don't be like me, but you're going to correct me. I'm going to make you correct me. We're about to go to the grocery store, about to get a whole thing of groceries. And my wallet was right there. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And he was like, what? I was like, I'm ready to go. Let's head out. And he saw my wallet. And I was like, yeah, come on, let's go. And he said, aren't you forgetting something? I was like, no, I have my keys. I'm also not driving. I never drive with him. He's like, so like, and then he was like, I understand like paying for stuff, but he's like, we about to go get some groceries. Or like, we've been out to eat like 3 times this week. And I was like, exactly. Why do you have to get upset to tell me that? And I was like, yeah, I have no problem bringing my wallet. You just had to say so. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, buckle up, because this is how it's going to be the whole time. You gonna have to tell me. I'm not going to just do it. Like, you have to tell me what to do. Like, and it's not just like being rude or making it a game. It's just like, I don't want you to think that our relationship can't stand like conflicts or you advocating for yourself. And I think there's many situations where, and this might've been a clinical thing, Black men are just seen as like, they shouldn't be advocating for themselves. I don't like that. Like, I do not like that. Like, no, you have to tell me like, I don't like it. Please stop. It's not like you're being disrespectful. You telling me how to treat you is what you deserve. You need to advocate for yourself too. He just looked at me and I was just like, yeah, I knew that made you mad. I know when stuff makes you mad. But you're going to tell me. I'm not about to read your mind. I don't like it.
That's that idea that we're talking about though, right? That level of advocacy isn't typically, I think that society as a whole, I won't say everybody, but as a whole, it seems like society really pushes the advocacy and speaking up for self when it comes to anybody that's not a Black man in a way. And I think that there are times where the level of advocacy turns into, like you're saying, like I respond once I've held it in for so long and I'm almost like building a level of resentment and I got to get it out, or I'm angry and I got to get it out. Or a lot of times I think with Black men is that we don't say anything and then our partners continue to push and push and push. And then we finally let it out. Right. But this level of speaking up and advocacy doesn't feel as common as it should be, or as strong maybe as it should be when it comes to Black men. But I think it's because we just weren't taught that. But again, like that goes back to that idea, like just because you weren't taught it when you was a kid, don't mean you shouldn't be working on that as an adult. Like if you want better, you got to speak up and say what your piece is, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. Don't come in and complaining, but then you're not willing to step in that realm and put yourself out there and say, hey, this doesn't make me feel good. I need help with this. This looks like blah, blah, blah. Can you support me? Like we have to be able to get ourselves to that space as Black men to speak up, because that's when we'll get the support that we really low key want and that we need. But we can't assume that they know that. That's just not fair.
Yeah, and that's the support y'all deserve, right? Like I have more men around me than women. I got 2 boys. My husband, my parents are married. Like I have a baby brother. Like I've always seen it. I see stuff differently because I'm like, I think there need to be, and I appreciate the fact that you do more things with Black men, because for the longest, all of my work was I just knew I was going to focus therapy, mental health research on Black girls. And then I had my first boy, and then I had my second boy, and I was like, yo, like, I was like, I could have sworn I was just only going to have girls. And even just having the proximity, because proximity is an experience. I'm a girl's girl. Like it's not even a question. My business partner, he's a guy. And he's dating someone. I was like, hi. And I was telling her, like, don't you advocate for yourself. You don't let him treat you any old kind of way. And he was like, yo, I thought she was my friend. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry to confuse you, but I will throw a man out the window as soon as a woman comes along. You understand me? Like, I am a girl's girl. And you are my business partner. I literally need you for this to survive. And also, like, I would let her slap you around if I was present. Like it's girls all day. You know what I'm saying? So that's just always how I've been. So when I've been having my boys and stuff like that, like they're just seeing this realm of there needs to be more stuff for Black men, because you have all these girl dads. And I'm like, all right, yo. So like I'm doing all this stuff to make sure your daughters are good. I'm gonna need y'all to do some stuff to make sure my sons are good, yo. Cause like there's so much more stuff, and there's not enough stuff for Black people anyway. but there's way more stuff for Black girls than it is for Black. It took me longer to find books for my sons. It took me longer to find cartoons for my sons. It took me longer to find like, even like the little pajamas. Like I could find an Afro unicorn. I could find all these girls with barrettes and balls and images. It's harder when it comes to boys. Yeah. And I'm just like, I honestly, unfortunately, it was a blind spot for me for some time, because I also just never, none of my research, all of my stuff was on girls, like research, advocacy, most of my patients. It was a huge blind spot for me until I had boys, which is probably why I get it. It was just probably why I have them. But like it was a blind spot for me in the first place. It's one of the reasons when we were talking earlier, I was like, man, I got to get some women, because like all I got is like men. I was like, all I got is like men therapists. I was like, I ain't interview a woman in a minute. Like I gotta work. Like, I gotta share the love. But it's because I see it. Yeah, it's because I see it as such a gap, right? Yeah. Like I'm surrounded by Black men, but my proximity is an experience. And as someone who genuinely has a fear when it comes to the way Black men are treated, it's still like not enough. Like there's not enough Black men therapists. There's not enough programs dedicated solely to Black men. I shouldn't have to search as hard to find pictures that look like my babies. Like that's it. It's way quicker if I was looking up something for my nieces than for my sons.
And even when it comes to like just that representation piece of how what that looks like and how that shows up as, like I tell people all the time, the work that we're doing now at my organization, and even like I have brothers' organization, Game 7, shout out to them, they're lit. The work isn't, like, we're not going to see the true impact. Like, we're working to begin to shift that perspective. We're working to shift the understanding and transform what that looks like and showing up as. But that true impact, it's generations away. But that doesn't mean we don't continue to push on and push through, right? Because like you're saying, the goal would be that there is a day where you can go online and search a Black male therapist, and it's not the same. And then 4 or 5
Listen,
like the goal is for.
I feel like I done interview all of y'all, all of them. Like, listen, I interview like all of y'all. I was like, oh, we going to DC. Oh yeah, so I interviewed him last week. Dr. J was last week. I know you know Rashawn from like Youth Stress. I was like, yeah, and it's like all of them. I kid y'all not, it's terrible, but I guarantee you all of them going to be on this show at one point in time, because it's just like, oh yeah, I know, like,
that's the thing. Like we have to, and I've come to terms with that. I think as a clinician and as somebody that's working to transform that idea. But again, that's why I'm big on like bringing up, like soon as I see somebody that's in the field and they're in a graduate school program, or I'm teaching them and it's like 2 or 3, hey, y'all, come holler at me. Like, come on. Like I'm keeping you, you're not dropping out. You're not taking no tests. Like we got to push this through. But again, that will help to shift that idea again, culturally and society wise, around how we can just be more present and more represented in certain spaces, right? Like even for me, like when it comes to my primary care, I just found a primary care that's a Black man that I liked 5 years ago. I'm 34 years old. Everything else, it was a white woman or it was an older white man. And they're not saying that they were good at what they did. But again, a cultural understanding is very different, right? The nuances of what that looks like are very different. How race and culture and societal pressure plays into stress and all those things. Like it's just different. And that made me feel so whole, being able to find a primary care that is an older Black man that can be like, hey, like I get it, but this is what we're going to do because this is something that's race related, right? Or how we're going to shift those things. So again, I love this idea. And I do want to say I commend you on being able to navigate the both gender wars and then all the other wars of how things go. Because again, for me, like I know my lane, I like to stay in my lane, but I also know that we don't have to argue about everything, and we can love Black women and we can love Black men. It's okay. Like,
it's okay. Both can be present. Don't even stay in your lane. Like I tell people, like I got a whole freaking highway, and let me tell you something. You're not about to like. I think like the level of assumptions. Like I always say, like, oh, I'm a womanist, and I'm an advocate for women, advocate for themselves all the time. And I'm just like the same thing with men. Like you're not going to treat my son all crazy. You're not going to treat if I have a daughter all crazy. Like we deserve to be treated right. And it's no side for me. It's because at the end of the day, I think it's just about the community. So like, you're not about to talk about women crazy. You're not about to talk about men crazy. You're not about to talk about non-binary Black people crazy. I'm gonna cut y'all out. I have no problem attacking everyone. Like, don't act crazy. Everybody can get it. Like, don't, like, it doesn't make any sense because it's just not, we're not individualistic. Like, it's not how it's meant to be. Like, the only person who that really benefits is the oppressor. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think if you only pay attention to media, I think it's also like, we got to get out this media space. If you only pay attention to media, you would legit think that's how we are. But I've never felt more supported or like affirmed or empowered than I'm in a room of Black men and women. Like that whole divisiveness, it's not something I have. I haven't been around, other than my exes, I haven't been around Black men that mean me no good. like I'm saying, like other than my exes.
At that time, we're gonna say
at that time.
They've grown.
I wouldn't assume that. I had terrible taste. Oh my God, Jesus. But yeah, like other than that,
yeah,
I've never been around Black men that mean me harm. So then when people are like, this scenario, I'm like, oh, I think that's awful that that's happened to you, and let's work through this and process that. But like, I don't think that's all Black men. It's just like, it's not all Black women. It's not possible to be. I remember my one patient being like something about like women, and I was like, dang, that's crazy. I don't know how you took the time. How did you make the time to meet all women in the world? Because like, you in school.
Right.
Dang, you got a job? That's crazy. Oh, no, Dr. Brian, I ain't meet all women.
Quantitative? Like, what
was it? Like, what did you do? I'm barely making it, and you meeting every single woman, the ones in utero too? Like, how are you doing this? Oh, no, I'm just saying. I said, I'm just saying. You can't say women. And also, I would say, don't go left just because you've been hurt before. Because let me tell you something. There's not a woman alive who ain't been hurt before, y'all. Like, come on. Do you think... So, like, oh, I've been hurt. All right, well, take your time and then get back up. That don't mean you get to be a jerk. Like, now you done, golly, you just grew your, it's going to be terrible. You done grew your beard out, and now you got just my MOB tatted on your chest. And like, it's just a lot. I just be like, yo,
going to get the newest car all of a sudden. And you on the clubs,
don't wait 5 days before calling somebody back. You over here giving I'm just like, I know they hurt you, but my God, sir. I know, I understand. It's okay. You can acknowledge that it sucked. That don't mean now all women are just like, Jesus, tell that to your mother. God, it's just too much. I do find, I ain't gonna lie. Like, and I don't want to generalize, but when it comes to like the hurt, a lot of times men like I'm sorry, but like, it's just like, y'all ain't never been hurt before. It's just a lot. I'm like, yo, this escalated. Like, women be like, oh, I'm hurt, but I'm gonna try again. Men be like, I ain't trying a motherfucking thing. You ain't never gonna treat me like this again. You ain't never gonna treat me like this. I'm smanging all your friends, all of them. And it's just like, oh my God. Yo, I think oh my God.
We don't know how to work through that. That's the issue. We don't know how to work through that hurt, that pain. The only way we know how to is to hurt back. And again, not saying it's completely inappropriate, but our first response is, okay, cool. Let me figure out what I need to do to get back and feeling good. But that goes back to why you need to talk to somebody that you can process those feelings, process the emotions. Because that is the MOB. Now you're the slayer of all women. Like, that ain't the way, bro. Like, it ain't the way.
And I just be like, y'all, like, come on, guy. I think you could do better. Like, but this ain't it. Because, like, my God, you would think. And the whole thing is like, it comes from a thing of pain. But even I could just be like, yo, that seems like a lot. I don't know. I don't. Seems like a lot of action in one night. I think this is excessive. And it's also because everybody knows fight or flight when it comes to stress response. But a lot of times when it comes down to it, I find like men, they even more so use like the freeze response. And freeze response is like engaging in numbing behaviors like alcohol and sexually risky behaviors. And I always say drag racing. And my brother told me that was absurd. But like, it's things that are going to bring you from reality. It's numbing behaviors. So there's always this stuff that says like, women go through depression more, but I don't think that's the case. I think men are more of a blind spot because their depression manifests differently, especially Black men. If you have a group of people who have never been told that they can acknowledge their emotions, they're always told that they're only what they can provide. So they can't acknowledge their emotions, let alone the range of it. Like, their problem solving is going to be, oh, she dumped me. So like, I'm hurt. I'm going to date everybody, or I'm going to lean into work more, or most of the time I'm seeing men, especially Black men, they're just not getting diagnosed with depression because people don't know how it shows up. Like the freeze stress response, that's men. Those numbing behaviors, that increase substance use, that increase like those exit strategies. I'm like, yeah, you sound depressed, bro. Like, I know you seem like, your friends seem like you're amazing. You constantly at work. You're doing all these investments. You playing Call of Duty 24/7. You're on Twitch. You got all these women around you. And I'm like, but all I see is like escaping your reality. Like, I have not seen one aspect of non-numbing behavior. Like, your entire personality is a culmination of numbing behaviors. Right. Yo, like, you depressed, bro. Yep. Like, I'm sorry to tell you. But you sound mad depressed to me. Yeah. I gotta let you know, you sound mad depressed. like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like now we on demon time, but like, I totally understand that. Well, Dr. Mason, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you could speak to women about better ways to support men, what would you say?
I think a very good actionable one is just working to create a safe space where both of you can explore thoughts and feelings and emotions, not just one.
Not just one. How do they do that though?
Listening, I think not dismissing behavior, not diminishing what's being shared, recognizing that it was already hard enough to have the conversation. So when we respond in a certain type of way, that's typically like that open door, whether they're going to close the door or whether they're going to open the door more for the next time. I also think that recognizing that we as in men have more emotions than happy, mad, sad, and angry and horny, if we're going to be honest, right? We have a whole bunch of emotions. And there will be times that will show up differently, but like pay attention to your partner. Like just look at them, pay attention to them, study them. They should be studying you. You can start to learn when your partner is going through certain things, even if they're not talking, maybe creating a safe space where they can talk to somebody else, right? Hey, like maybe you should check in with your brother or check in with your friend, check in with me, because I think that a lot of men carry a lot of baggage and weight that they don't discuss because they feel it's inappropriate to have that type of discussion. But if you're the loved one and you're the significant other, I think that holding space in general just looks like checking in with your person. And it's not always going to be that they're randomly going to come and tell you, because a lot of men aren't. Again, they're not raised that way. And that's not how society has taught us to respond to our feelings and emotions. So pay attention to your person, hold safe space, listen to their feelings, active listening. Don't be on your phone while he's trying to tell you about his day and low key missed maybe something that was a bar. And he like, well, this is why I don't say nothing anyway. And
this is why I don't say nothing anyway.
Yeah.
That's a big
one. So yeah, that's what I would say. I think those tips and tricks are usually ones that kind of create this safe space of being able to process and at least just be able to talk to your partner as a whole. Not saying he's right, you're right, nobody's right. But if you want to explore those types of conversations and have that type of space, you got to be able to actually create and cultivate that environment.
Okay, one more question, because I know I said that was the last one. What would you say is the difference what would you say would be a statement that diminishes versus a statement that like affirms, like in the moment? Because sometimes people need a script, like, don't say this.
A statement that diminishes is you'll figure it out. And that's because you're your person and they will figure it out, but that doesn't always feel good in the moment as we're trying to work through something. And a statement that's affirming is how can I support you? What does that look like? Because again, when we think we know what to do, then we do it, and that maybe not be what was needed. Now we've like muddied that water up a little bit, but just ask the person like, okay, cool. You're going through this thing, and it might even be y'all two as a couple. It could just be he's going through something at work or whatever that is. Babe, what does that look like for me to support you? Like, tell me, what does that look like? Give me an actionable item. It could be you just want a hair rub. It could be you want a beard rub. It could be y'all just want to talk. There are some times that men are working all day long and they want to come home and everybody just wants silence, right? Like, I don't want to go play Call of Duty, but I do that because that's the way that I can take a break. So being able to speak up, if we ask those types of questions, we allow them to then speak up and share what they feel is appropriate. And then you can decide whether you're going to lean into it or not. But that's a good space that I think could help. So what can I do to support you as you go through this experience?
What can I do to support you? All right, y'all, that's the script. Like, because sometimes people will say stuff that's abstract and y'all misinterpret it and y'all still got it wrong. So those were two clear statements. I don't want to hear you saying them. Like, tell everybody so you're in Maryland. Does your practice have openings? Like, is everyone's caseload full? Because that's always going to be the biggest question.
Yeah, we are accepting new clients, and we are based in Maryland. What else is there? Feel free to follow us at Minds in Motion Therapy. Dr. Martin, again, I just want to say I appreciate you for allowing me to come on and talk to you. And I look forward to hearing how things go. And I'm gonna read your comments. If I'm not going to respond to anybody, but I'm going to read your comments and see if there's any words going back and forth. But again, at the end of the day, we got to lean into each other to love each other. So let's do that.
We do. Oh, I love that. We got to lean into each other to love each other. Yo, that should be on your page somewhere.
I might need to write that down somewhere.
Write that down. That was good. That was good. I like that. Yeah, you got to lean into each other to love each other. Yes, amen. All right. Well, that was fantastic. And you'll be able to get all of this information on the show notes. I will tell you, for Minds in Motion, it's underscore after each word, right?
That's correct.
Minds underscore. Yes, Minds underscore. And you never know what you might see. You might get some more. You need to do some more trailers and the suits and stuff like that. And you know what? I feel like y'all have already done like the suits. So maybe like, I don't know. Well, I was going to say like, what is something else that guys wear? No, I was going to say like sweatsuit outfits, but y'all might get shut down for that.
No, man.
Yeah, y'all might get shut down. Yeah, I think you guys will get shut down. I'm just trying to bring people to therapy by any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. I don't mind pandering to being like, listen, wait, come on. Go to session, yo. Like, or even dudes, they look cool. Don't they look like somebody you would want to hang out with? Go to therapy, guys. Look at him. He's wearing a jersey. That's a cool guy right there. Go to therapy. I don't care.
We're going to figure something.
I'm all about marketing.
Maybe you might be the muse for the next photo shoot. So be like, listen. See what you think.
And I'm going to share it and be like, go to session. Stop telling me you can't find anybody. It's like 20 men in here. It was a lot of y'all. I was like, it's like 50 freaking dudes that they said they got an opening, y'all. Like, go to therapy, please. God, for the love of God. But yeah, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you being here. Everyone, remember to be kind to yourself and always remember that 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still 1 step forward. That is just math. Have a fantastic